So I've been fortunate enough to try out lots of permanent outdoor lights, and since Christmas is my favorite holiday, it's no surprise that I always have lots of fun testing different kits out. Now, I've had my eye on a new offering from LUMARY for a couple reasons. First is that they actually have other products you can incorporate into an install, such as their curtain lights and neon rope LEDs. And second is that they have incredible reviews on Amazon. So without further ado, let's jump right in. I'll start things off with their new Permanent Outdoor Lights Max 158-foot kit that has a total of 120 lights. Opening things up, you have a ruler that you can use, as it is recommended to install these 2 to 4 inches away from your wall. Next, you have the getting started information, and then 3 big boxes which holds a total of 6 strands of lights. And from the research I did, it seems that this kit by LUMARY has the highest pixel density of any product currently available. This means the pucks are closer together, which will help in a lot of areas including brightness and smoother animations. In the one smaller package, you have a remote, some wire management clips, screws to mount these if you want something more than the sticky pads, which I'll cover here shortly, extra adhesives, extra plastic pucks, 2 extension wires, one at 12 feet and the other at 4, and a 36 volt 2.66 amp IP65 watertight power supply and controller, so these 100% can be left outside. Taking a closer look at the lights, you have what's called a 5-in-1 LED. It has your RGB color options in the middle, but also has a dedicated warm and cool white diode on the outside. And having this dedicated white option, in my opinion, is almost a must if you're wanting to use these year-round and not just for some color around the holidays. Now for the design, this is another thing that caught my attention. It has this round dome shape that LUMARY says helps spread the light better, but what's most unique is how they're tackling one of the biggest complaints about these types of lights not sticking to the surface and falling off over time. For this, they created a removable base that will actually do one of 2 things that I'll quickly show you. So what you can do is first stick these to the surface like I'm doing now. Next, you can slide the actual light off that reveals a small hole in the middle. You can then use one of these included screws to secure it to the surface, and finally you can slide the pucks back on. This will ensure that these will stay up year round. The second reason this is nice is if you do have some lights that go out over time, you can easily replace just that one section and slide the new ones in place while the base units stay put. So kudos to them on thinking outside the box for this. So it's always recommended to plug everything in before installation just to make sure things are working. I have the lights on while doing this, but it is best to have them unplugged during this step to avoid any contacts accidentally touching while connecting them together. And all 6 strands do appear to be working correctly, and as you can see, they definitely have a nice looking warm and cool white output thanks to those dedicated diodes. Next, let's go to their curtain lights, and these in general have blown up in popularity, and I must admit I absolutely loved GOVEE's version of these, so I'm excited to see how these will stack up. You have a 5 volt 3 amp power supply, some marble looking beads that can be snapped onto the bottom of the lights to help weigh it down, a physical remote, and plastic mounting brackets that can be attached to the string with hooks to hang on a curtain. I'm again wanting to put 3 of these kits on my garage door, and thankfully these plastic brackets will fit nicely in the Mazada aluminum profiles to make the installation much easier. But I did however have to get all these plastic pieces on the string first before fitting them into the profile, and then I did this 2 more times so that I would have a total of 3 curtains to hang, and I will be going over that process here shortly. And finally, the 32-foot outdoor neon rope lights, which caught my attention because they're currently the only neon rope type product I could find that above and beyond the RGB also offers a dedicated warm and cool white LED in the strip. For these, you have the mounting hardware for surfaces, mounting stakes for ground installs, a physical remote, and a 24 volt 1.5 amp power supply. I'll get these fired up and you can for sure notice a difference in white performance compared to neon lights that don't have the dedicated LEDs. You can cut these down to size and you'll notice these black lines on the side of the silicone that represents the spot where you can trim them to fit your specific install. I'll first start with the permanent outdoor lights, and I can't tell you how many comments I've received from people saying they put their lights up backwards and now what do? So an easy way to make sure this doesn't happen is to plug the first string into the control box, and the side that fits into the plug is your beginning. And if you did install them backwards, unfortunately you're going to either have to plug them in at the end or take everything down and start over. There is no other option. I'll put these up about 2 inches from the wall, and I've also heard a lot of comments over the years about how the sticky pads don't stick. I've personally had 0 issues with this, and I think this will be my 5th or 6th different kind of kit I've installed. But I will say, if you don't wipe down the surface before putting them up, then you probably will have issues with them sticking. Once I get to my first gap, I'm just going to have one light on the side of my house. This kit doesn't include any splicing options, and since it's only one light, I'm not going to take the time to see if I can do my own DIY type splice. But this is one area that you would like to see them include something to make it possible for a more custom install. I'll continue along the bottom of my house, and thankfully the string ended at the perfect spot. I'll be using the larger extension wire to make the jump to the second level, where I'll continue along the top, working my way left. I was hoping the string would go to the end, but I had about 3 feet that would have been dark, so I plugged in another strand, and since you can cut these at any point, I trimmed off the extra so that the light would go to the end of the roof. I went back and tidied up any of the loose wires with the included clips and cut off any of the hanging plugs that I didn't need. And back at the beginning, I have a downspout that works great for hiding the wires behind, and after all is said and done, it looks pretty clean. For hanging up the curtain lights, I've already done a complete walkthrough of this process that you can check out, but as far as a quick overview, I'm using some large 3M sticky pads to attach the aluminum profile to the garage. And as long as you install these about 3 or 4 inches from the top, when the garage door opens or closes, the channels will go through without hitting the edge. Then it's just a matter of tidying up the wires inside the garage and you're good to go. And the beauty of doing it this way is that you can easily take the entire curtain down and move it somewhere else in a matter of minutes like I'm doing now, or just take it down after the holidays and store it somewhere safe for next year. Moving on to the neon rope lights, I'll be using the ground stakes to install along my front deck area. And then using another 32-foot kit, I'll put in the cracks that are forming between my cement driveway slabs. I did consider putting these up along the roof line and attaching to my gutters somehow, but I couldn't come up with a good system for that, but it is something I would like to try at some point. Now I think one of the common misconceptions is that these type of lights look ugly during the day. I do think the neon rope lights stick out against the green grass, and I probably wouldn't keep those up year round, but at least the curtain lights and the permanent lights on the house, in my opinion, blend in really well, and I don't see the need to take them down, at least from an aesthetic standpoint. Fast forward to night, and after downloading and setting up the LUMARY app, we can begin to play around with the features. I only ended up using 62 lights, which you can change right here depending on the size of your install. All the lights are represented by a dot on the app that can be controlled independently or all together. Here I'm turning the lights all off one at a time and then turning them back on separately. This is nothing new, but a nice feature in case you just want to have a few lights on at night. And the dedicated warm and cool white lights look great and something I would certainly feel comfortable using year round. Moving on to scenes, and they have a lot of different preset ones that you can choose from. And one thing that I like about this is once you find something you like, you can click the 3 dots and customize it to your exact liking, and when you save it, it'll create a new scene in the DIY tab for quick access. This helps you get a good starting point to an animation and color scheme so you don't have to start from scratch when trying to come up with a DIY option. You can choose from about 20 different effects, change the speed, or change up the colors to your liking. And this meteor animation does a great job of showcasing the smooth and fluid movement of the lights with the added bonus of adjusting the brightness down on the trail to create the nice visual. Another reason why the animations look so good again goes back to this strip having a higher LED density, which helps create more fluid effects. Another effect I really liked was the open and closing one, and once you save it, you can see how it's now added to your DIY tab. Transitioning to the curtain lights, and for these you can click the 3 dots at the top right and create a group. Here you can have up to 4 of the curtains combined into one big unit, but you still have to, under the settings, choose if you want them to be synchronized where all 3 do the same thing at once, or extend where it acts as a large single panel. Not every option is going to take advantage of the large display, but text is one that does. This is fun to type anything you want in the box and have it displayed. You can then choose the color, speed, or direction of the movement. They really do have some fun animations, and I was pleasantly surprised at how smooth some of the effects were. The rocket ship was one of my favorite, as well as the one that kinda looks like a version of the Matrix lettering. The curtain lights are still by far what gets the most attention, and I had multiple neighbors coming by wanting to know how I was doing this. This is also a fan favorite of my kids, and they love picking out their favorite animations. And a lot of these do give you the ability to choose the movement, direction, and speed. The sound react functionality uses the mic on the controller, and it did a decent job of picking up the sound from me banging on the garage door. But it lacks some of the customization that I've grown accustomed to from the GOVEE curtain lights. I know this product just launched, so I expect over time this aspect will be improved. Another thing to note is that I didn't install the marble beads at the bottom because I was fine with how things looked as is, but if you wanted to get a more straight string, then make sure to put those on to help. Moving on to the neon lights, and the dedicated warm and cool LEDs make a huge difference in performance. This is a product that if I could get them to blend in with my gutters, I could see myself keeping these up year round as well. These also have some really smooth animations that you can play around within the Scenes tab, with color marbles being a good one to test out. And in music mode, I would say that the neon lights did perform best out of all 3 products in this area.
Check, check, check. Test, test. Check, check. Test, test.
So what I'm doing now is trying to create a Christmas theme, but I'm having to go into each group of products and change it to what I think looks good, and this brings me to really my only complaint. LUMARY has been very successful in the indoor lighting space, and they really are making a push to break into the outdoor scene. And in all honesty, from a sheer number of products they currently offer for the outdoors, they actually might be number 2 to GOVEE. Now I want competition and I want LUMARY to be a major player in this market, but for them to do that, they need to come up with a way to sync all their products to be controlled as one. Their hardware is actually really impressive and they've shown that they can do things that no one else is doing. And in terms of speed and reliability, their app is equally impressive from what I've seen, so they're off to a great start. My advice, however, would be for them to throw a ton of money into developing their own DreamView type functionality, because as of right now, there is no way for me to sync all their products up together to change simultaneously to a theme. I'll update the description if this is something that becomes available with a software update down the road, and I really do think this is the only thing that's holding them back on taking a huge step forward and solidifying them as a worthy competitor to GOVEE. Hopefully you can see that you are able to create some awesome themes and effects, but all this had to be done manually by me, one product at a time, where hopefully in the near future it can all be done with a button or by simply telling it what you want. So that about does it for this one. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I hope you have a blessed day.